At 6:30, we're going to call the meeting to order. All the members are here tonight. Additions to the agenda, we have number 3 under financial reports, which is a revised treasurer's report.
Correct, we forgot to add that to the original one.
Okay. That's the only addition to the agenda?
That is the only addition.
Okay, with that addition, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion by Bruce,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to approve or correct the minutes from the November 12th regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion by Bruce to approve,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Financial reports, we've got the October 2013 treasurer's report, the October monthly balance sheet, and then the revised June of 2013 treasurer's report.
From my point, nothing unusual that we haven't talked about before.
What was the revision in June?
Just because of the audit,
Oh, okay.
so it's the audited revision, so it's just based on the numbers that we got from that.
Anybody have any questions or comments on reports? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Mark, second by Lou, and that's for all 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3 under financial reports. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. To the bills, October 13, November 2013 bills.
I had the opportunity this afternoon to go to the district office and review the bills. I would make a recommendation to approve the additional October bills and the November bills as written.
Okay, we have a motion by Mark. Second. Second by Lou. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have nothing under the consent agenda, so we'll move to, do you just want to wait for Bruce, or do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I can just,
Well,
this doesn't look.
it doesn't look, well, why don't we just go through in order?
Okay.
Give a few minutes for Bruce to show up if he doesn't. Number 1 under business, review and consider approval of policy 412, Paynesville School District expense reimbursement policy.
This again is the mandated policy that we do not presently have. At this point, I have not gotten any, in fact, for all of the policies that we're looking at, there were no questions that were directed to me from the board. So at this time, I think we can certainly go to a 3rd reading. If everybody's feeling comfortable, we can certainly approve.
I don't really think a 3rd reading is necessary at this point. I'll make the motion that we approve the policy 412.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Deb, a second by Cheryl to approve 412. Any further discussion?
Do you want to ask for business?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any comments or questions from the public on these items? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, review and consider approval of policy, I think it's change of the number from 815 to 807.
Correct.
And the health and safety policy, and that's the only change.
The only change for it is really is the change in the number to bring it in line with MSBA's policies.
So moved.
Okay, we have a by Deb, a second by Bruce to approve.
I don't know if we need to check every time up there.
Any comments from the public? Okay. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, review and consider approval of policy 601, curriculum and instruction goals policy.
Again, this is one of our mandated policies that we do not currently have. This is built off of the MSB's model policy. I think it fits within what we need to do for the district.
So moved.
Second motion by Mark and a second by Bruce. Any comments from the public? Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, review and consider approval of policy 419, Paynesville School District 741 tobacco-free environment policy.
This, we did have a current policy on. Really, the main change to this policy was the addition of electronic cigarettes.
So moved.
Motion by Cheryl, second by Kella. Okay, any comments from the public? Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, review and consider approval of policy 825, Paynesville School District 741 naming of facilities policy.
This was the new policy that we came up for the naming of the facilities. Again, this is a policy that I didn't get any questions on. Everybody seemed comfortable with it. And we will be using this policy very quickly. So if everybody feels comfortable, I would say it would be nice to approve this one. We'll move forward with at least one group that has come forward to the board.
So moved.
Is that Kella? Okay, we have a motion by Kella,
Second.
second by Mark. Any comments from the audience? Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, review and consider approval of appropriate bid for storm shelter project.
You have the bids in your packet. There were 2 bids that we had for the storm shelter project. The bid that we're recommending is the one from Wells Concrete. They were low on not only the main bid for the project, but also all the alternatives, or the alternates.
How can there be such a difference in the bids? It's drastic.
Location. Location, they want to send the cities. I think it's part of it.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. You're moving stuff, half the cost is the hauling. So moved. Second.
This is a motion to accept the Wells bid by, was it Deb?
Yes.
And a second by Cheryl.
If the board accepts, then I have an agreement that I will sign on behalf of the board and send that forward. And they did agree, because once we found out their low bid pending board approval, they agreed to put us on the waiting list for the project. That was the reason that originally we thought about having a special board meeting, so that they could do that. They agreed to do that pending the board approval. We just didn't want, we wanted to move it forward as long as we could, because it'll take a while for the precast pieces to get built.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none.
Is this all inclusive for the storm shelter?
It's all inclusive for the
Exterior.
precast exterior.
Yes. The shell of the building. So it's really the precast portion of that they did. The other pieces we'll do as smaller projects.
It's not electrical.
We'll get quotes for those. We won't have to go out for a closed bid for those.
So basically just everything that's concrete.
Yeah, you can see this, that, not including the bleacher portion right there, that's what that is. It's all this precast.
It's really in essence the exterior shell
It is.
to the storm shelter.
else from either the audience or the board? Okay. Hearing nothing, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, review and discuss stadium project and possible selling of alcohol on school grounds under specific circumstances.
Wait, I didn't check to see what the board minutes reflected, but quite a while ago, the board had asked me to kind of check to see whether it's possible. Now, I have not spent any dollars checking in with our lawyers at this point, and that may be something that we may want to do depending on how we go down this road a little further. We did find the city who was doing this, and they cited an agreement, and it's in the packet, and I believe all of the community members have it that are here. So I do believe this is possible. On the back of the attached piece are the 2 Minnesota state statutes that Chan Hansen is using to say it's legal. How Chan Hansen started was that they needed to do, the district needed to do some improvements, or wanted to do some improvements to their facilities. One of those was the baseball stadium. And the city had agreed to pay the district $600,000 in exchange for the use of the facilities. One of those terms for the use of the facilities was that when their amateur baseball team used the facilities, that there was a possibility of selling alcohol on school property. I know that there are other areas around. I know that Eden Valley Walkmans also has an event in which they do that, and they also have an agreement. We have talked with the city concerning this. They're interested. They are kind of coming up with something that might be a draft or what it would conceivably look like if the board decided to do that. We wanted some kind of an example eventually before the decision is made so that the board could look at that. I think from my point of view right now is that we believe it's going to be something that other districts have done, something that's legal to do. Now the question becomes is, it's legal to do, are we going to do that? Are we going to allow that? I truly think that at least at this particular point, it's probably, we're in a position that we really do need to hear from the community on this one. And so from my point of view, I guess I would recommend that there be a listening session. I certainly want the comments of the board on this, but in fairness, I do think we need to hear what the community has to say now before we have a more solid discussion here at a board meeting or at a work session concerning this topic. It would be nice to know what the community thinks, get their input before we do that.
What's that timeline?
Well, I think, I did talk, again, I have been in conversation with the city. I think we're all in agreement. Part of what moved this whole thing forward as far as the discussion is the project that Roger Rothstein kind of is coming to the city with. I think he needs to have an answer one way or another, no matter what it is. Part of the problem is that I think the city council should be at that meeting too, or at least good representation from the city council, so and possibly even the township. It's finding a time when all of us can do it. I would love to have that meeting before the winter break. I think that would be the optimal, because then we get, the discussion can continue after that. So my goal, although I can't promise the board, would be to try to find a date before the winter break. I think if it's maybe the last week before the winter break, if we can get that in, I know that gets to be a very busy time of the year, but it'd also be nice to put a short blurb in the newspaper about this event coming up, asking for community input, so it's all in the timing possible, but that's what I kind of envision. I certainly want input from the board, but I envision short article, inviting people to come, having both, or all 3 groups there to listen and then get public input.
How fast do we have to move on something like this?
Well, I think from Roger's point, and I have not talked with him, but I'm going by what has kind of come back to me, it's one of those, the sooner the better. I think from his timeline, and I'm assuming, I think we still have some time as far as a month or 2, but I think after that, I think we need to have some kind of idea which direction it's going to go, because if this isn't going to happen, then I think he needs to know that so that he can move his venue. And again, in no way has anybody promised anything to anybody at this point.
And that would be my only concern is, I don't wanna get into a rushing match with somebody just because there's a proposal out there. I think we have to do the due diligence of putting out there that meeting for the people that are able to go there, and we might have to do another 1 or 2 meetings just to see once what comes of it, you know, potentially, before we go ahead and get to that point, because when is this year even gonna be done? We're looking at
Spring, summer.
by this year summer, okay, but even at that rate, I mean, we're 6 months out before anything like that could be done. And even even if they were to start it, if the guys from the town team wants to start or whatever, if that's not in place at that point in time, I don't think it's that great big of a deal, but I think it would be something that I think we should have a deadline, say within whatever it is, to have some decision. But I think some people have to have the understanding of what is it all gonna be? Okay, if it's gonna be this way, how does that affect everything else? Before you just, you know, like I said, I just don't like the idea of putting a timeline on just because one guy wants to do one event in the whole grand scheme of things. So I think we need to step back and still do our meetings, but in the same breath hold, have the people to be able to absorb it. What does that mean to them?
And I would agree with that 100%. As I mentioned, it's only that piece that kind of moved us to really get going on this a little bit quicker. So I would agree, I think we need to take our time. This is a tough decision to make. There has to be a lot of discussion. We do want community input. We'll know a little bit more after one meeting.
I think that's the
where
thing.
we need to go.
I don't think he's rushing the decision as much as rushing the start of the meetings, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
That just because we have the first meeting, we could take the next 6 months to decide. but
Absolutely.
We need
Okay.
to start somewhere, and the sooner
Right.
we start, the sooner we.
No, I just don't want
Yes.
it to be an idea that we're gonna have this year all solved by Christmas.
Oh, no, I don't envision that.
Well, I don't, but again, somebody has to say that, because there
Yes.
could be some people out there thinking, oh, the board's gonna have a decision by Christmas.
No, we won't.
Correct. No, all I am talking about at this point is setting up one community input meeting, and then we decide where we go from there, partly based on where the community is at. At that point, we may decide to set a number of meetings up. We may feel comfortable with the one meeting, but we still then have a lot of discussion, because this is just getting input. I believe that it's good for us to get the input before the board has the discussion, so that you have an understanding of where the community themselves, either the pros or the cons, are coming from. So I think it gives you better information for the discussion.
Not just us, but the city and the township too. I think
Correct.
all three of us have a lot riding on it.
So I'm just looking for kind of you directing me to set up a meeting, is what I'm looking for.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you gonna have that as a separate day, or are you gonna have that during the school board meeting?
No, I'll have it as a separate date. At least that's my initial feeling. It would be hard to work into a school board meeting, from my opinion, unless the board feels more comfortable with that. I think this would be a special board meeting, not to make decisions, but to get community input.
Plus, board meetings are in here with these things, and I don't know as if everybody,
I'm thinking this meeting would be the auditorium.
Yeah.
Whatever groups we have up on the stage of the auditorium, people coming to the podium, signing in, and
it's not as.
providing feedback. Unless the board has a different wish, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Sounds sense.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, makes sense.
So I will set up a meeting. We will post, and like I said, a lot of it depends on the timing of everything. I would like to get, although the paper's here, so I'm assuming there'll be a piece in there on this, but I'd like to put a small piece in too. Probably the next paper, not this upcoming one, because I'll have missed it. Well, I don't know if I'll miss the deadline. I suppose I could get it in by Friday.
Oh, for next week?
Yep.
Yep, that would be fine.
So either that, it'll either be in this upcoming one or the one right after that, depending on, because it'll take a little bit of time, and we have to post, we've got another board meeting coming up a week from today. This is kind of the weird one because of the way December is, so we can talk a little bit, I may know a little bit more, but this is a tough time to tie anybody down to right before the Thanksgiving holidays, but I'll do my best.
And we have to coordinate this with the city too.
Yes.
Because they have to be there, so
That-
I see we have a city council member here, so I have to get that coordinated. Your meetings, when?
We don't have, it's gonna be the second Wednesday of December now.
Yeah, when I talked with Renee, it'll be, I'm assuming a special meeting for the council too, if we find a day that we can get a good representation from them. We're not gonna be able to fit this in within the timeframes of meetings themselves. We need to find a day that'll work for all the groups, set it, make sure that the community is aware of it, and then go from there.
These need to be set as council meetings and school board meetings? Or can you just
I don't,
community type
well, for
meeting?
us, we would have to set it as a special school board meeting, work session at the very least. I'm not sure what the bylaws for the council is. I don't know if we have to give the 3 days mandatory notice. I don't know if the council does or not.
I believe you do.
So,
Which it's likely they'd have that, but that's.
so we'll be on the same thing. They'll have to give the notice, we'll have to give the notice, so it's finding the day far enough in advance so that we can make all the pieces fit in.
Okay, so we'll set a meeting and get a date.
Yep,
put
that's
together.
all I needed.
Right. I know that some community members are here. I don't know if Chris, if you have any comments you want to make at this point, or just wait until then?
Yeah, it's fine. I just know that with this deal for the veterans, I know Roger, Bruce, you talk to him way more than I ever do, but, I know he's got somebody coming from West Point now, I think he said, or, I don't know, somebody. So we need to know,
We've got people coming from.
we need to make a decision, either say, well, we're not gonna make a decision in time so we can tell him, or a decision's gonna have to be made in January at the latest. I think, because he's gonna have to have several months to get this organized. I mean, we're not gonna start building until February, but I know we don't wanna push it for one decision, but we need to push it so it gets a decision made at some point. Otherwise, it just sits there and we can have a meeting after meeting, and you can have one, I mean, I know there's gonna be people arguing for it, and there's gonna be people arguing against it.
It's a decision that has to be made one way or the other,
Right.
and if we can't accommodate this big event, I think that needs to be considered as well.
Right. And if it's something like, well, we could do it, so we can get 5,000 to 10,000 people coming to town, great.
This needs to be considered.
If not, great, let's put it in another town and be done with it, but one or another, I think we owe this guy who's trying to do something for the community at least an answer.
And, you know, we've got one board meeting in January, at least that's been typically what we've done. So I think we need to set the first meeting, and then we need to kind of come up with a game plan of where we're going to go from there. But I think the first meeting is what we need to get set up. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments in regards to this, but.
When I talked to Roger last, he talked about if he could have an idea mid-January to February. Just again, because of the people he's got coming all over. And I don't know if we've said today what his program is, but it's to honor veterans on July 5th.
Fifth or the third?
That was the 5th. That was the day after. So that was the whole idea to it. When I spoke with him, he wants to get all entities of the community involved. So it could be the baseball organization, Chamber of Lions, anybody can get involved in different things. And he's expecting lots of people coming to town. So,
Yeah, like I said, I have no idea, the community has not engaged me in the discussion yet, but I think that's why we need to have a meeting to get some input.
Take it a step at a time, we'll set
Yep.
a meeting and see what happens.
I think we set that up and go from there.
Okay. Is there anything further from the audience or from the board on that issue? All right. We will move on then to personnel. Number 1, review and consider approval of request by Amy Jasper Flanders rescinding board action of August 27, 2013, which approved payment to her for co-directing the 2013-14 musical, and placing those funds instead into the fire department budget.
I don't know if that, as hard as Lynn and I worked on that one, we could not come up with a shorter way to put that on as an agenda item. In essence, she has already directed the play. The board approved her to direct the play and get a payment for that directing. She wishes to donate it. Okay, there were a couple ways to do that. One is she could write a check back to the the musical, and that'd be one way. The trouble with that is you do get taxes taken out and all that other stuff, and she has to count it as income. So there is a burden to her also, and on top of it all, they really don't get the whole bundle of the dollars that she really wants to donate. We can put dollars into whatever budget we want. She wants to rescind the payment, really is what she's doing, with the understanding that we will take the same amount of dollars that she would have gotten and put it into a musical choir account. I'm fine with that, it's cost neutral, it helps the kids in the program, and the musical. We need to rescind the approval and agree that we're gonna put the dollars in that account, and I just didn't have a shorter way to explain it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Deb, a second by Kellen. Comments from the audience? Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Information reports. Lou, West Central Ave.
We met, how do you get through this? We met in Melrose November 18th, and the audit report was given, and was given by KDV, and it showed that we had a healthy fund balance of $818,000. They also agreed at that time to continue with KDV. And the board accepted a letter of resignation from a ALC science teacher, and a letter of assignment was also approved by, for an employee for lunchroom supervision, assistant teachers, and labor prep, lesson prep, in Spanish and music and other duties. Then a request was made to the board for out-of-state conference expenses, and that got to be quite a discussion, and it came up with an agreement was made for her to attend the conference in DC. And at the Beacon ALC transition update was given. Also, ALC Beacon update was given. There's 37 high school students and 7 mid-level students and 8 Beacon students serving now in the 2 districts. The Beacon and the ALC program. And the next meeting will be January 21st, January 21st in Paynesville. Any questions?
Thanks, Lou. Deb, district-wide staff development.
Yeah, we met on the 14th, went over the grants and funding, a few items. There is no contract this year with resource training. They intend to make use of the eye observation tools already in place. There's 15,000 budgeted, and so far they've used 3,139. Outstanding expenses are for some conference, or just mileage to a conference, and there will also be a $4,000 eye observation software bill. Couple of the staff have reimbursements coming for helping convert school to Google systems. And another TIES conference, they were going to see if it was determined the expertise could be shared systematically with the staff before they approved it. Old business former boards, the goals haven't been revised since 2007, so they're going to renew them. And that Rachel Nelson is working working with the committee that's doing that. They several suggested changes. At the meeting, they're going to type them up and then bring them to the next meeting. They also have, Rachel and Colin have a survey for the staff to prepare for the January 20th in-service, and it will be emailed and tallied by the end of this month. And our next meeting is December 12th.
I think the survey's gone out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But I haven't seen the tally for it.
No.
Yeah. And that's it.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Admin report, Bob.
Just a few things, we're continuing with negotiations, some going faster, some going slower, but they're progressing. We had our high school freezer go out today, well, really 2 days ago. We repaired it, went out again. We're getting 2 quotes on a new freezer. It'll be a big piece. We do have a fair food service budget, so I think we'll be all right, but this will probably be somewhere around 20,000, I'm assuming, to replace that. Part of our struggle will be, what are we gonna do in the meantime? Because we still have a lot of food, but we're working with our food service groups that provided for us not to bring any food in any earlier than we have to, so we will struggle with that, because it's not just going with a quote, it's getting the actual freezer here in the store.
Downtown, take it downtown, that's what we did before.
There's one
Truck
like
meat
that.
market. Yeah.
We will look at all those. As I say, it just happened today where I think it went out for the second time, and we're saying, can't just keep putting good money on top of a bad situation. The freezer's old. All right. Okay, so we have that. I'll be signing a gymnastics agreement, same thing that we've done in the past. We typically haven't brought it to the board. Nothing has changed on it, unless the board wants me to bring it forward at the next meeting. I'm just going to sign off on it as representative, but we have to have a place for a gymnastics team to practice, and nothing virtually has changed at all on the agreement, so nothing new. Parent-teacher conference is tomorrow. So far, so good. Haven't had to call school off yet. I'm happy. Just a reminder that the next board meeting is next Tuesday, so it's a quick turnaround. We have to get the agenda done for tomorrow, but really there's only a couple things right now that I'm looking at the agenda, but the truth and taxation meeting is on that meeting. We are going to have PMA come in and present the truth and taxation presentation. It's part of what we do with them. Would like to have, we had a meeting with Keep the Quality group. Really haven't met since the referendum, but so we're kind of trying to decide what that group is going to do, how it's going to support the schools. One thing is we would like to maybe have a representation from the board, if somebody's willing to do that, so just think about it. We're not going to have meetings every week. It's going to be just far and few between, but we're kind of right now trying to decide what do we want that group to be, fundraise or do this, do that. So there's a lot of discussion going on, but if there's somebody that's interested in that, it'd be nice to have the board hear about the projects that group is looking at doing. Did talk with Matt about the I think it's BNCTV. At this point, because of the financial situation with the district, Matt has agreed that he's just going to continue to move in the direction that he is. All right, so he's going to continue to volunteer at this time to continue to produce that particular project. We may come back to the board. One of the things that Matt and I have had to talk about even before this piece came up was that the fact that community ed has expanded tremendously. And we have been in the discussion before this about possibly adding some hours to help with that expansion. I think we have to decide if we're going to expand and continue to grow, we have to have some support there to also help that. So I'll be continuing my discussion with Matt and may come back to the board with at least a recommendation on what we think would be helpful to continue to expand that program. Let's see. We're switching over to Google Mail. That switch is taking place right now. So you'll be having to go to your Google accounts instead of the Outlook accounts that we've had. So just be aware that if you do run into any problems, get a hold of us so that I can get a hold of Jonah and he can tell us what to do. All right, so but we're working on it. We expect a little bit of adventure, but it should be all switched over by tomorrow. That's our hope. By noon tomorrow, we're hoping that it's all switched. And then we'll find out where we're going to run into glitches, and then we'll go from that. Other than that, I hope everybody, it's one of my favorite holidays. I think we have a lot to be grateful for, and I hope you all enjoy the Thanksgiving break. That's what I have.
Bob, anything else from the board?
Yep, I just wanted to thank Cheryl and, Kella. We did do, at the conferences last week, Wednesday and Thursday, we did provide snacks and stuff, so at both schools, so that went very well. Got lots of compliments this year. Thank you.
You?
Deb did a wonderful job with all the cookies and baking.
Anything else? If not, meeting is adjourned.